Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'd like to call the meeting to order for the Oxnard City Council for September 2022. And Madam Clerk, roll call and posting the agenda.
Councilmember Lopez,
Here.
Councilmember Madrigal,
Here.
Councilmember Perillo, Councilmember Turan,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem McDonald,
Here.
Mayor Zaragoza.
Here,
Thank you. We have a quorum. Posting of the agenda. The agenda for this meeting was posted in the City Hall Bulletin Board on September 8th, 2022.
okay, thank you. And now we're in item B, public comments in the closed session agenda items. Madam Clerk, do you have any speakers for closed session?
Mayor Zaragoza, we do not have any speakers for the closed session item on the agenda.
Okay, then, so we're going to item C in the closed session. Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council will recess to a closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection D1, to confer with its attorneys. The matters being discussed are Starr versus City of Oxnard and Pedroso versus City of Oxnard. The City Council will also recess to a closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6 to review the status of labor negotiations and to review its available funds and funding priorities for the purpose of providing instructions to the city's negotiators regarding the organizations and the organizations specified in item C2 of the meeting agenda.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So now we're going to go to closed session, excuse me, and we'll be back for the appointment item at 5 p.m. Thank you. Item D, this is an appointment item, city manager. The subject is Oxnard Convention and Visitor Bureau Annual Report. And this is at City Council to receive the report by Julie Mino.
So before that, Mayor, though, we need to make the report
my-
out of closed session.
Do we have a report from out of closed session?
Thank you, Mayor. So the council met in closed session and reviewed items C1, C2, and C3 on the agenda, and there are no actions to report.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. So Julie, Ashley, do you want to introduce again?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to bring up Julie Mino, the president and CEO of Oxnard. Let's see which way we want to say it. Visit Oxnard or
Yeah.
Oxnard Convention and Visitors Bureau to give their annual report. Julie?
Welcome, Julie.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Do I have my PowerPoint?
Yes, Diego's going to get that up for us.
Thanks, Diego.
Julie, before you start, Madam Clerk, Councilman Turan is going to be coming back later. He had to go to take care of some school business. Okay, thank you.
I might need more than 3 minutes. Is that going to count down on me? I'm going to be here all night.
You're good. Go ahead.
Thank you, Diego. Yeah, you don't want that. Good evening, Mayor Zaragoza, Mayor Pro Tem McDonald, City Council members, and the city staff. My name is Julie Mino. I'm the president and CEO of the Oxnard Convention and Visitors Bureau, otherwise known as Visit Oxnard. I have the pleasure of serving in this position since December 2017. My team and I are happy to present you with our fiscal year 21-22 annual report. My clicker. Oh, there we go. There we go. I know many of you are familiar with our small but mighty team, Brittany Hendricks, our VP of Marketing and Communications, Michelle Flippo, who has been recently promoted to Operations and Sales Manager, and we've been fortunate to add 2 new part-time positions. Our new team members are Daniel Cabrera, Digital Marketing Coordinator, and Nino Blunt, Office Coordinator. A little bit of a lag time. There we go. You may also recognize some of these names on this slide. It's our board of directors who represent a cross-section of tourism serving businesses and locations throughout Oxnard. These directors help shape the direction and vision of Visit Oxnard. Our mission to promote and market Oxnard as a premier travel destination, bringing significant economic and social benefits to our community. We have a multi-channel approach to our marketing strategy and messaging, which I'll walk you through during this presentation. It consists of owned media, earned media, paid media, meetings and trade shows, all facilitated by a dedicated and involved team, while always keeping these core values at the center of our approach. 1, increasing overnight stays and visitation among leisure and business travelers. 2, increasing positive impressions and improving the perception of Oxnard to locals and visitors alike. And 3, increasing our online audience across social and digital platforms. An overview of our fiscal year 21-22 marketing plan, which is an internal document used as a playbook throughout the year. In 2019, we introduced persona-based marketing, identifying personas or customer types, which represent the qualities encompassed in our target audiences. Our goal being to deliver a message that resonates with a niche user base in a way that exponentially increases the likelihood of someone choosing to visit our destination. I'm going to take you through our own media strategy, which consists of our website, email marketing, and social media channels. In October 2020, Visit Oxnard launched its new website after a year-long undertaking. Its new features and functionalities include a fresh look, stunning new scenic photography, which is updated all the time, with usability and digital accessibility in mind. A thoughtful sitemap with user-friendly navigation with logical pathways towards content, a redesigned media hub where journalists and travel writers will find helpful resources, including updated photography assets, Oxnard in the news, and our press kit available for download. A new, more search engine friendly event calendar, new resources for hospitality partners, including event submission forms and how to partner with Visit Oxnard, a brand guideline, downloadable assets, and a comprehensive list of festival sponsorship and volunteer opportunities. As you can see on the screen in those very hard to read yellow bubbles, in fiscal year 21-22, we had a whopping 491,000 sessions, more than double from the year before. And we also promoted 531 events on our website. Our top geographic markets visiting our website are Los Angeles, San Francisco, not surprisingly, Dallas, San Diego, and Las Vegas. This past year, we worked with a search engine optimization contractor, Torchlight Marketing, to optimize our web pages and improve search engine rankings and domain reputation for visitoxnard.com. We have maintained an email newsletter prior to, during, and post-pandemic. We have grown our e-newsletter list to over 9,000 email subscribers with a 46% average open rate in our newsletters. Industry standard is 20%. So as you can see, we are well above standard, sending relevant information to people interested in Oxnard. Over the years, social media has become a one-stop shop for any kind of information you can imagine. Many people find news, current trends, and of course, inspiration for where to eat, shop, and where to visit. Visit Oxnard has amassed over 63,000 followers across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Spotify, Pinterest, and LinkedIn. We utilize social media as a local outreach tool and to drive business to partners via contests and giveaways, which amplifies our collective reach. In line with California Restaurant Month, this past January, we partnered with Bandwango to create and launch our first ever Visit Oxnard Restaurant Pass. This mobile pass encourages guests to explore citywide restaurants in exchange for access to exclusive offers and Oxnard branded prizes. So far, we have 29 restaurants participating, 998 pass downloads, and 664 redemptions. With the success of the Restaurant Pass, we launched our Oxnard Taco Trail Pass. This was launched just this past week in line with Hispanic Heritage Month. And we already have 20 Mexican food restaurants participating, 110 pass downloads, and 40 redemptions in the past week. Now we'll walk through our earned media strategy, where we amplify Oxnard's reach by partnering with media, pitching to top-tier outlets, and attending media marketplaces and receptions. Visit Oxnard compounds its reach by working with influencers. This past year, Visit Oxnard has worked with travel and foodie influencers, including Tastemade and Tastemade Travel, Black Foodie, Our Travel Passport, The Best Drink Ever, Bad Birdie, Andy Sola, and Oxnard-based foodie influencer Trendy Eats. Those influencers have a combined followership of 8.5 million people. Visit Oxnard's robust public relations strategy has, since July 1st, 21, resulted in earned coverage with top outlets including Newsbreak, Foodors, LA Times, Fox News, New York Post, SF Gate, Yahoo, National Geographic, Wall Street Journal, AAA Westways, Meetings Today, Smart Meetings, Out Traveler, Malibu Coast Lifestyle Magazine, Conejo Valley Lifestyle Magazine, SoCal Life Magazine, LA Travel Magazine, Travel Awaits, Patch.com, and of course, VC Star and VC Reporter. Through press releases and media pitches, we've received a great amount of broadcast and radio coverage over the past year. KTLA, CSB Los Angeles, Mambo in the Morning, Luminary Sounds, KEYT, Spectrum News, Our Ventura TV, Super Cowboy Show, and SF Gate. Now, a look into our paid media strategy. It would be impossible to cover everything we're doing in this time frame, even though I have 300 minutes, so maybe I can. So I'm just going to talk about a few of our highlights here. We are thrilled with our new branding campaign that highlights so many of Oxnard's amazing activities, locations, and scenery. We worked with the Journal of Lost Time on the concepting and filming of this campaign. We have utilized this as a storytelling piece across owned, paid, and earned channels, including Visit Oxnard's website and visitor magazine, in display ad campaigns and sponsored content on partner channels. We have shared this with journalists and influencers to use on their own channels as well. This creative, featuring a group of friends adventuring out to experience Oxnard's variety of offerings and gathering together to celebrate the day after so many months apart, anchors our tourism product in an inspirational piece. Diego, do I have sound on this? Okay, cool. Sorry, Brian and Ashley, I know you guys have seen this before. Utilizing ARPA funds, Visit Oxnard created its 22-23 visitor guide and absorbed all ad costs for prior advertisers, our Oxnard hospitality businesses, as a business recovery measure to ensure partners were able to participate, despite any hardships caused by the pandemic. 33,000 copies were printed. 26,000 of those copies were distributed in 583 locations throughout California, and the remainder were distributed by individual requests in Oxnard hotels and locally. Visit Oxnard engaged in paid media programming through marketing agency Madden Media, resulting in omni-channel media placements meeting or exceeding all of the target metrics set forth. Visit Oxnard utilized Madden's Voyage Destination Intelligent platform to generate target audience data, ensuring that these campaigns were optimized in line with visitation and demand metrics. In addition to the digital marketing tactics that we've already talked about, we participated in paid media placements, including dedicated email marketing campaigns through Visit California, sponsored content and showcase ads with AAA Westways, digital campaigns with LA Parent and LA Magazine, targeting Oxnard's top market by visitor volume, which is Los Angeles. We also targeted group businesses with a Meetings Today e-marketing spotlight. All of these went to an audience of over 3.3 million people for these media placements. Visit Oxnard has also worked with travel influencer websites like LA Parent, LA Magazine, Travel Zoo, Weekend Sherpa, and the Journal of Lost Time, creating informative articles that highlight Oxnard's hospitality business and building backlinks to our owned channels. Visit Oxnard also ran print ads in AAA Westways, Travel Guide to California, Edible Magazine, BC Reporter, and Meetings Today, with an audience of nearly 5 million. In conjunction with our new branding campaign, we created a series of billboards running on the LED billboards at the collection at River Park. seen by thousands of locals and visitors alike. Visit Oxnard ran a leveraged media co-op campaign from November 21 through June 22 in partnership with Visit California and Expedia. The campaign received 3.6 million impressions, 4,600 room nights were booked, and it generated $1.1 million in gross hotel room bookings. It's a lot of TOT. With a 14.6 to 1 return on ad spending. Also funded by ARPA, we leveraged a media co-op campaign from May 22 through June 22 in partnership with Visit California and TripAdvisor, resulting in over 2.5 million impressions and 3,000 click-throughs. Visit Oxnard is greatly involved in industry relations to leverage opportunities for co-op programming. In addition to those already mentioned, we partnered with Ventura County Coast, which included e-marketing with Visit California, as well as e-marketing with LA Magazine, sponsored content with Travel Zoo, and programmatic advertising with Mosaic Media, and sponsored content and email marketing with Weekend Sherpa. We ran print advertisement in Visit California's visitor guide with 250,000 copies sent directly to highly qualified in-state subscribers of Travel and Leisure, Better Homes and Gardens, and Parents Magazine, with additional distribution to in-state sales missions, consumer and travel trade shows, California welcome centers, and more. We are actively promoted on visitcalifornia.com. Additionally, we continue to support and run ads through Central Coast California Visitors Map. We worked with Ventura County Coast to create direct booking engine landing pages for visitoxnard.com, oxnard.org, and the collection at River Park, and several other Oxnard event websites. These direct booking pages allow Oxnard hotels to generate revenue directly without paying third-party fees. The visitoxnard.com direct booking page alone generated over 444,000 hotel listing views and 3,500 clicks to hotel websites. This metric is separate and non-inclusive of visitoxnard.com hotel listing page conversions, which measured over 23,000 clicks to Oxnard business listings, 2,000 hotel registration inquiries, and 1,600 clicks to call Oxnard businesses directly. Next, we move into our meetings and trade show strategy. As we slowly moved out of the pandemic, we attended 3 trade shows this past fiscal year, meeting with hundreds of meeting planners and helping to keep Oxnard top of mind for booking business. As we look into fiscal year 22-23, we have a robust trade show calendar as we are currently slated to attend 9 trade shows, focusing on small meetings, corporate groups located within our drive market, SMERF groups, which consist of social, military, education, religious, and fraternal, and associations. We have a printed meetings brochure for access to quick facts and useful meeting planner information. And in partnership with Ventura County Coast, we have a multi-page spread in our countywide meeting and events planning guide with detailed information on all of our hotel partners and Oxnard activities. Just going to take a moment to do a really high-level recap of Dallas Cowboys training camp. I know we're all pretty involved with this event. Visit Oxnard's Dallas Cowboys training camp landing page received over 148,000 page views. Because the Cowboys are a global name and a huge draw for interest in tourism in Oxnard, we invest in a robust marketing plan to grow its audience with the devoted fan base. In addition to promoting training camp on our own channels and via earned placements, we ran digital display ads with USA Today Network, print ads in BC Reporter, Facebook and Instagram, outdoor ads including a static billboard off of Highway 101, and LED billboards at the collection at River Park. We were also on multiple TV broadcasts and radio interviews. We had on-site activations during camp and promotional giveaways. Plus, we hosted the organization's first ever Oxnard Fan Night in partnership with the collection. This was conceptualized and organized completely by Visit Oxnard's own Brittany Hendricks. Finally, I'd like to go over the dedication and involvement of our small but mighty team and how we personally are creating waves in the industry, bringing Oxnard to the forefront with our industry peers and positioning Oxnard as a premier travel destination. Between Brittany, Michelle, and I, we sit on 15 different boards and committees. These range from local, regional, statewide, and international organizations. This has allowed us to have a seat at the table, folding in the Oxnard brand around the state, having a voice in advocacy efforts on travel and tourism, and promoting our destination to a broad spectrum of organizations. I'm beyond proud of my team for what they have done and our future efforts in marketing Oxnard as a premier travel destination. Our fiscal year 22-23 marketing plan is slated to be presented at our board of directors for approval and adoption later this month. It outlines research and statistics that are pertinent in informing our decisions as we move forward, identifying key performance indicators so that we have concrete measures for success, and making clear our strategic intention for the coming year. While our destination reel plays in the background, I'd like to mention it is imperative that we remain in the consideration set with our competitors and position ourselves to capture tourism dollars as the travel economy faces new challenges, including a calming in pent-up demand and inflation worries. We are well positioned to continue. Oh, sorry, it's not playing all the way. We had a little snafu with the video, sorry, but you guys have all seen that one. We are well positioned to continue to meet state benchmarks and even exceed them, particularly evidenced by our city's outperformance in average daily rate and occupancy. Oxnard is still looking forward to the addition of 3 new hotel properties coming online in the next couple of years, which is projected to bring a 34% increase in available hotel rooms, which means we need to stay on top of marketing efforts to fill those rooms. We will also come before council at our next annual report to renew our city contract and our Oxnard Tourism Marketing District Agreement. On behalf of Team Visit Oxnard and our board of directors, thank you for this time this evening to present our fiscal year 21-22 report. We see our organization as an extension of the city, and we look forward to our continued partnership and all the future has to hold. Brittany, Michelle, and I are available for any questions or comments you may have.
Thank you. Thank you, Julie. First of all, I'd like to share with you, did you give us a website, or the website for the Visit Oxnard #1, and also where can people get information, additional information or flyers from you?
You can go to visitoxnard.com. On visitoxnard.com, you can request visitor guides. It has all of our contact information, our direct contact to be in touch with any of us to ask questions or get additional information. And then we do have a on-site location at Marine Emporium Landing. That's where our offices are, to be able to pick up things directly from us as well.
And I think branding Oxnard is extremely important, as you mentioned. That's really, really important. And you said something that we have 33.3 million flex. Is that what it was, or are people looking into the?
We're gonna have to go back through stats.
To go back through stats, yes, it's certainly not that high. I think it was 491,000 sessions this past year on our website.
Okay, and the $1.3 million, and what was that again?
Oh, that was our Expedia campaign, and
Okay.
it generated
1.1 million.
yes. The first campaign, so we ran 2 campaigns this last fiscal year through Expedia. One of them generated 1.1 million, and the second one generated another, I think, 500,000. So it was about 1.6 million in revenue to our hotels.
Very significant. Michelle, you'd like to share anything?
Well, my new promotion, I'm very
Good,
excited.
excellent.
I'll get here. So with my new promotion as operations and sales manager, I get to go out to other areas and tell them how wonderful Oxnard is. And it's just an extension of what I've done before. And I love the area. So it's fun to be able to get out there and say, hey, you need to come to Oxnard.
Thank you. Council members? Mayor Pro Tem? Mhm.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Julie, Michelle, and Brittany, thank you so much for the presentation tonight. I don't think people realize how competitive this market is. And in the online world that I experience, Texas and Florida are really pushing hard
Mhm.
to get people to their states. And I think the campaign that you're running here rivals anything that they're doing and it to me is more appealing. So good job. Thank you for all your efforts. And it takes an investment to make an investment. So, you can't just rest on your laurels to expect people to show up. You have to entice them to be there. And we have some of the most beautiful water in the world, excellent harbors. We're seeing new restaurants open up. Haven at White Sails just opened up, Caribbean food. If you like Caribbean food, I would give it a shot. We have just a lot of variety of restaurants. And the hotel on Mandalay Beach Road has just done a multi-million-dollar upgrade to their facility. It's going to be fantastic. So we have a lot to offer. Tell all your friends, hey, if you want to go to a place that's got, well, except for last week, it was a little warm, but generally moderate temperatures. And life on the beach is a little slower paced than LA and other big cities. We're the place to go. So thank you for all your efforts.
Thank you, Councilmember Lopez.
Thank you, Mayor. And I echo the comments before me that you're all doing a really great job and seeing the videos and the images, following you on social media. It makes me proud to be a resident, to be a council member, to be a part of this community in the city with the work that you're doing. And that I think that's a part of it, is that as residents seeing these images, if this is what other people are seeing outside of the city, it just brings a lot more pride to those of us who get to enjoy and visit these wonderful places within the city. So thank you for all your work and your efforts.
Councilman Perlum.
Thank you very much. A great presentation. I want to compliment the leader here. Whenever you have a leader say something to the effect, beyond proud of my team, that says a lot about the leader. It says a lot about the team. That's a high compliment. Thank you for saying something like that about people working with you. I do have a couple of questions. With respect to, you mentioned the add to spending ratio, and I missed it. Can you please explain that a little bit, please?
Yeah, it was the Expedia 14.6 to 1.
Yes.
Brittany, take this one.
So as Julie mentioned, we have a number of paid efforts. And for that particular campaign, which was an Expedia campaign that we ran, for every dollar we spent, we received more than $14 in sales. It's return on ad sales is the acronym, ROAS.
That's great. Thank you. I know that I sent you, but I did, one thing in your promotional magazine, I have gotten questions about positive feedback here about the 4x4 pictured on the sand, the Bronco pictured on the sand. And I'm being asked, where can we drive 4x4s on the beach in Oxnard? And that is sort of like a stage photograph, but I mean, be aware, there are people asking those questions because certain areas of Pismo Beach are getting shut down and people are looking, coming from the Central Valley with those things, where can we go?
Sure. So that photograph was actually not taken on the beach. I understand that it might look that way. It is actually at the end of the street where that Hollywood Beach Cafe is. And there's parking that is often sand swept right there. It's actually on a parking space is where we shot that. And I understand that because you're looking at the ocean, you're not seeing the homes that are adjacent to where we shot. But as you might have noticed in the video, you can see the houses that are right next to as the camera is rotating.
Thank you for the explanation. And the last is when we're talking about these things, and the other councilman have mentioned it, it's one of Ventura can try to cop it, but Oxnard is just as good. It's a gateway to the Channel Islands, a national park. And there's a lot of people that like to go to national parks. And this is it's a little more effort to get out there, but the thrill, the potential of what you might see and what might see you in the water is a big deal. The last is, I don't know that you have any control over this, but I shared the emails, the concerns of residents about the jazz festival and the sound, and maybe in the future we'll work with something because those residents are not going away. They live there. Thank you. Tremendous output.
Thank you.
My hat's off to the leader about the complimenting her team. Very few people compliment the team. They take all the glory. It's good to see somebody pass it down.
Councilmember Perla, would you like us to respond to the Channel Islands or the Jazz Festival? No.
No. Okay. So maybe the future.
We're actually not sponsors of the event, and yeah.
Well, Julie and Brittany and Michelle, thank you so much for the presentation. Excellent presentation. Thank you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item is a Public Works Department item, subject to presentation by city staff on the drought response action and current drought issue. Recommendation of the city council receive a verbal report by staff on the water conservation update report. And we do have one speaker on this, Michael, and that's Pat Braun. Pat Braun, you want to speak on this item? D2.
I'm sorry, but your sound is just so terrible that
Can-
you can hear that somebody is talking. You can hear a little bit here and a little bit there, but not the whole word, just parts of words. Yes,
Okay, thank you.
but
It's
when
back.
I'm back there, I probably won't be able to hear you.
Can you hear me in the back? Yeah, he can. Okay, thank you.
We have a real sound problem, and we also have too much air conditioning, which is a waste of money. But we definitely have a sound problem. This has happened, by the way, since we stopped having meetings for the month to have everybody go on vacations. Before that, it was fine. After that, the sound is just dreadful, and I don't know who did what, but somebody screwed up. And it's not just me. I hear it from people all over Oxnard who complain to me about it because they've heard me complain about it and they want to know what can be done about it. They're not coming to these meetings because they sit out here and they can't hear anything. And the air conditioning is so cold that they have to bring a winter coat. This is what I've been hearing. This is what I've been hearing, and I'm serious about it. Okay, the topic that I wanted to bring up is the drought responsible actions and conditions. Now, you know, I grew up on a farm with fruit orchards and all of that, and a huge front lawn, a huge back lawn, and so forth. But it snowed all winter. This is up in the Northwest. But what we have here is a situation that should have come to our visibility back about 2 or 3 years ago, because we have a water problem apparently that's just going to go on forever. My trees are still alive, but my bushes and my flowering plants are all dying. The ivy beds are dying. I don't have a lawn. I took the lawn out a number of years ago because I thought it was just a waste of water. We never had to replant the lawn on the farm in the Northwest. It went away for the winter while the snow was on. But afterwards, when the weather warmed up, the grass was all back again.
Thank you.
Why do we have to water the grass and nothing else?
Thank you, Pat.
I don't get it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Mr. Mayor, just a quick comment on the facility. Staff had tried their very best to complete the project while we were on hiatus during August. It just didn't work. This is still a work in progress. The sound will get better. There are still a lot of improvements that Diego, Mr. Wolf, and everyone else are trying to bring on board. It's just going to be a little prolonged.
And thank you for saying that. We also had a delay in the materials that really didn't help us at all. So thank you for sharing that, Brown. Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem,
Mm.
council members, Michael Wolf, Director of Public Works. Just a couple of items to add to the presentation that was pre-recorded. We do have our August consumption numbers that weren't included because just from a timing standpoint. So the good news is that if you make that comparison to 2020's consumption, again, that's the governor's volunteer request for 20%. Oxnard as a whole, our customers are about 25, 26% reduction. So that's good news and information to update from our presentation. The other thing, we've mentioned this before, this is a very dynamic and fluid process. Last time I spoke, we talked a little bit about Cayugas and Met specifically not going after the 0 days a week watering in their time frame they originally requested. However, we did get a request last week to look at and make sure we have the ability to go to 0 days a week. And I don't know if that's Cayugas and Met, just making sure they're prepared if that's the case. But again, I just wanted to make mention that this is a fluid and dynamic process. And every week or every time we have an opportunity to discuss this at council, will provide updates as it progresses. So that's my updates, other than the presentation that was pre-recorded, available to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, Councilor Perrella.
Can you give us an update on what the climatic National Weather Service says about La Nina?
I cannot, no, I don't have that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, that's just an update. Thank you so much. Okay, our next item is opening ceremonies, and this is please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll take a moment of silence because we're having a lot of major floods and earthquakes around the world. So moment of silence after the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Our next item is a ceremonial items, and we have a presentation, a proclamation designating September 15th through 5th to October 15th, Hispanic Heritage Month. And I understand we also have Javier Gomez from Milakech and Dr. Cortesi. You want to come up, Javier? And so I can read this proclamation. And I think Dr. Cortesi is going to join you. Come on up. Yeah, come on over. Do you have all the children from Milakech? Oh my goodness. Come on up, kids. Yes, yes, come on up right behind us. You can pull. And the children, you can stand next to me and the children behind us. Young kids, go here a minute. Okay, so welcome. This is a proclamation, Hispanic Heritage Month, September 2022. Every year since 1988, the Americans have observed Hispanic Heritage Month from September the 15th to October the 15th by celebrating the histories, culture, contributions from Spain, from Mexico, and the Caribbean and Central South America. Whereas this country has drawn strength in the diversity of its people, whether their ancestors have been here for generations or among the newest members of the American family, each adding their own distinct and dynamic perspective to our country's story. Whereas the celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month, we honor the contributions of Hispanics have made throughout the history and highlights of the rich diversity that keeps our community strong. Whereas this month and throughout the year, we must continue to reflect the countless ways in which Hispanics have contributed to our city's success and embrace the diversity and strength of us to recognize and address the many, many challenges that still exist to fight equity and opportunity for the community. Now, therefore, I, John Caesar, goes the mayor of the city of Oxnard, hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15th, 2022 as Hispanic Heritage Month in the city of Oxnard. Encourage all residents to come together and celebrate through song, dance, food, and embrace and understand the customs and traditions and cultures of our friends and family and neighbors. This is signed by the mayor of the city of Oxnard. And I know Ms. Cortez, you've done a lot for the community. Javier, you've done a lot for the community with the children, our youth. with plays that really share the Hispanic community of what we've done. So you'd like to share a couple of words?
Thank you very much. Teatro
Right here.
celebrates Hispanic heritage all year. We produce plays in Spanish. We just had 2 Mexican actors spend last weekend with us on a play that highlighted the need for liberty, particularly when governments are oppressive, which is not the case here, we know, but was set in Argentina. So we highlight the history, the culture, and we love doing it, and we'll continue doing it.
Thank you, Doctor. And Javier, in the catch.
Well, for the last 50 years, we have been working very hard to cultivate the minds and spirits and culture of our children by providing them with a free opportunity to learn about themselves through the arts, the importance of culture and why tradition is so important for us to pass it down. One of our biggest champions is right in front of us, being honored to also Carmen Ramirez. She championed the cause of our center and the work that was done. And so we value the importance of education. As a retired educator for the Oxnard School District, I retired in order to continue with working with these young men and women behind me in music, in dance, and theater as well. And as well as I do art workshops. For 40 years, we promoted El Dia de los Muertos celebration throughout Ventura County with one thought in mind, and that was to organize communities, bringing in elected officials, community leaders, artists, families, children, together to the same table to work together as one and to celebrate a cultural event that celebrates their heritage and their dignity. And that is the beauty of what I find in Oxnard. And I continue to doing this work because como dice mi esposa, ya no te aguanto en la casa. I can't stand you at home, Mr. Gomez,
Like my
because
wife says,
you're
I
too
can't stand you at
restless.
home.
My wife is telling me. So she knows that until she leaves, I won't run for city council, for mayor, or for a council member seat. And only because she says that there's too much to be done with her yet. So culture, family is the importance. And so I'm so honored by all these children who are the family that make up the word en la quech, which means you are my other self. If I love and respect you, I love and respect myself. And that's been our goal, to bridge the gap in our community so that everyone can celebrate the richness of each other's cultural origins, wherever they come from. And we want to celebrate that. And so on behalf of the En La Quech Center and also Teatro Las Americas, who's creating wonderful productions, please, we need to support our arts in our city. And this is a very appropriate commendation to recognize this month, because there's so much to be done in our community and so much that can be given to the future of our children. I expect one of these young men down here, like little Chewy, little Chewy right here, is going to be the next mayor of the city of Oxnard. So when you see him, you're going to say, Chewy, adelante.
Thank you so much. And really, I want to thank Javier, because you've been doing this for what, 50 years? 50 years. And I see some young ladies here, and I see a mom right here. ¿Quieres decir algo?
One of my students also.
No? You want to say something, Mija? No? Does anybody else want to say anything? Does anybody want to sing a song? Nobody else? No? Thank you so much. Thank you. Really, really appreciate it. Señora, mucho gusto. Thank you so much for being here. She's one of the moms. Yeah. Thank you for the invitation, she says. Thank you so much. Gracias. Thank you. Thank you. He says he wants to be city manager.
You won't need to be as tall.
Follow this. Yeah. No, it's this. I know I got another one for you. This is gonna be yours, but we're gonna get you another. What's it? Thank you, son. So before we sit down, we have another proclamation here. And this proclamation is for the Multicultural Month. So we have Adam Lopez here. Adam Lopez. Or somebody, there's Adam. Adam Lopez is the chair of the Community Relations Commission. And Commissioner Gonzalez, okay. This is proclamation, October 2022, Multicultural Month. Whereas the month of October is designated as a multicultural month in the city of Oxnard as part of the United Nations Day celebration throughout the world. With representation of many cultures around the world, with 20 languages being spoken, the city of Oxnard is truly a diverse community. And whose Community Relations Commission will be celebrating the 25th annual Multicultural Festival will be held at Plaza Park to embrace and celebrate the city's cultural diversity. Admission to the celebration is free and will feature the entertainment, crafts, exhibits, international booth, kids activities, foods from vast array of cultures. Because the Multicultural Festival provides an opportunity for the community to come together to learn about other cultures and appreciate the richness and culture adds to our community to recognize the common humanity that links each culture here in Oxnard. I therefore now John Zirko, as the mayor of the city of Oxnard, do hereby proclaim October 2022 as Multicultural Month in the city of Oxnard and encourage all residents to come and discover and share and celebrate diversity in an environment where education, fun, and is intertwined in the 25th annual Multicultural Festival at Plaza Park on October 1st, 2022. This is signed by the mayor of the city of Oxnard. And Adam, I'd like to share a couple of words.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. So, we are honored and privileged for this year to host our 25th annual Multicultural Festival. And the CRC, Community Relations Commission, has been working really hard to put a good program together. City Council is there, City Manager participates in the opening ceremony. We're going to have a very special, it's called the Parade of the Nations, where we have a local school. The students carry the flags of each country in our globe. And we're going to have a special rendition of the national anthem by our very own Lorraine McDonald, who's Mayor Pro Tem's wife. So it's very special. So we invite you to come on Saturday, October 1st from 11 to 4 at Plaza Park. It's going to be great. Different food, dances, arts, music. We're going to have, she's local, Kilani Barrera, Recitos de Oro. We're going to have the Cousins. Our headliner band's going to be Caliente 805. We're going to have a DJ. It's going to be great. And we're going to celebrate culture. We're going to celebrate the world, every race, and just come out and please support. Ese sábado, perdón, Octubre 1º, sábado, venga a Plaza Park de 11 a las 4 a un festival excelente para todos ustedes. So thank you, Mayor, City Council, and I want to give Commissioner Gonzalez some opportunity to speak as well.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you so much. Just come out. I echo all of Chair Adam Lopez's sentiments and his words. If you've never come out, make sure you come out and you bring your family. I've lived in Oxnard for 24 years and I've only been one time, and that was before the pandemic. And I am very sad that I've missed all the years. So come out, bring your kids, bring your family, and come out and see what's going on at the Multicultural Festival. You won't be sorry.
And thank you so much. And again, one thing I want to share is Martha Kiyan from the city manager's office and Luli has also helped us tremendously. So I just want to share that with you because she's only she takes a minute for your CRC also. So Martha, thank you to Martha Kiyan for helping us out.
Yeah, well, she's not only been helpful, she's been the one that's been running the entire program. So thank you, Martha Guillen. I know she couldn't be here, but she's behind the curtains, behind the scenes, getting the sponsors, getting the acts, getting the program, getting the money, begging city manager for more money. But she's done it, and it's because of her, honestly, that her She's been doing it for years, and if it wasn't for her, it wouldn't happen. So thank you, Martha, and thank you, Mayor, City Council, City Manager. Thank you for the time.
And again, I just want to share, that our city employees are doing a great job from one department to the other. Thank you, Adam and Martinez. Thank you. Cindy. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much to Javier and also to Adam. And our next item is items not on the agenda, and we have Pat Brown again. Mhm.
Is this item H1?
This is G1,
Okay, let me turn the page.
items not on the
I've got
agenda.
them all marked up.
Mhm.
G.
And you were talking about the air conditioning and the sound system is what you were saying.
I didn't do anything on, I didn't record anything for G1. The H 2 about the water supply and the drought conditions.
We have that, we've done. that.
Just terrible.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking that we're too late. We're too late. We should have been doing this long ago, and then we wouldn't be in this position.
We talked about the water.
So that's the way that goes. Now, I'm set up for some others. And here's some other ones like
The other one you have is M1 is the other one. you haven't Yet.
I'm going to go sit down now, and
Thank you.
M1 I need to speak on.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, any other speakers on items not on the agenda? Okay, here we have. You can go ahead and speak and then fill out the card, Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so good evening, City Manager, Mayor Pro Tem, City Staff, City Council. My name is Chris Hernandez. I'm the Vice Chair of the 5 Points Neighborhood Council. And I'm here today in regards to an uprising issue that not only has been happening in my neighborhood, but as well as all over the city. A sudden spike of unlicensed street vendors. I'm sure you're all aware of it and have noticed as well. I'm sure you've got emails and whatnot, but I'm here in support of friends with businesses in the food industry who have reached out with concerns of their businesses being at risk or failing or showing signs of their businesses slowing down. We are here to voice concern for those who have taken the proper steps towards obtaining a legitimate license for the business. We are here to express concern for public health and safety. And we are here to express that most of these unlicensed vendors are not locals and that this is not an attack on local street vendors. And I want to make it clear that this is not an attack at all. So we're here just looking to find a solution. We are here looking to keep local revenue local and help those unlicensed businesses become licensed businesses. So my question is, what steps have you guys taken, if any, and when can we start seeing a change? I know it's a difficult issue. I know it's going to cost a lot of resources, extra resources, but we're just here to voice our concerns, and I'm just here to support my local businesses and people.
And code compliance is working on that too for information. Give us your name again, so.
Chris Hernandez.
Thank you, and you can fill out it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, man.
if I could ask some comments, and code compliance is aware of this. They have been
That's
out on
right.
several occasions. And some of these groups are more organized than others. Again, the city welcomes business, but as Mr. Hernandez said, they need to be licensed, follow the health regulations, and abide by all the other rules that our businesses that are here abide by. So code compliance has been working very closely with environmental health and the police department and the neighborhood
Right.
policing team to address that issue, but it's not going to happen overnight.
Thank you, Chris. Young lady?
Hello, my name is Veronica Rivera. I'm wearing Tacos La Bonita. My English is limited
It's
for
okay.
explain my problem.
Mhm.
Así que, disculpen, va a ser en español.
Well,
Es,
do we have the translator? Again, you want to come up? Where's the translator? We have him on Zoom. Mijo, do we have a translator?
Mayor, our translators are on Zoom. Due
Oh.
to the
Can we Chris, okay, go ahead, Chris. Okay, Chris, go ahead. Go ahead and state her name.
Verónica Rivera.
Go ahead. Chris, get closer to the mic too. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yo trabajo en una taquería cerca de aquí, es Tacos La Bonita.
So I work at a local taco stand here, restaurant. It's called Tacos La Bonita.
Creo que algunos de ustedes la han visitado y si no los esperamos con gusto. Somos un negocio principalmente de mujeres y estamos buscando hacer las cosas de una manera correcta porque tenemos necesidad de salir adelante.
So at this restaurant, I'm sure most of you guys have visited as well. And we are a business that's mostly made up of women. And we are here to express concern and to try to find some sort of plan or solution in which we can all be helped.
La práctica que tenemos es que en enero empezaron a llegar negocios sin reglas, no regulados.
So the issue started uprising in January where businesses were around and they weren't being regulated.
Empezaron siendo 3, ahora son más de 24 los que tenemos solamente contados nosotros.
We've counted 3, which started up, and now it's over 20 street vendors, unlicensed street vendors.
Queremos pedirles ayuda y apoyo a los negocios locales.
We'd like to ask for your guys' help and support for local licensed businesses.
The street vendors, right? Okay, go ahead.
As well as respecting the laws and the norms that are already established.
Que sirven, que se van a diferentes departamentos.
Businesses in the food industry are a fundamental in establishing and helping out the community.
Nosotros
We have around 6 businesses in the city of Oxnard. And we have always respected the norms and taxes that the city has placed upon us. Especially because we are very grateful for this city and this country.
de que estamos dando comida saludable a la gente y segura.
It's not just about the money and being the best here in the community. It's about providing great food and healthy food to our public. We don't want our city to be like other larger cities where the structure is just not there anymore.
Sienten vulnerables a los ataques también de ellos.
So the health department has expressed that they want to help, but they also need the help from the police department to keep safe from when they approach the businesses.
Okay.
Que ellos se ponen y hay aceite, están al aire libre y puede haber incendios, puede haber más.
We would like the support and help from the police department because a lot of these businesses, they establish with open flames and they have, chemicals and oils that they leak onto our streets. And other local vendors and friends from businesses have been threatened by these businesses. So,
Porque en realidad de enero a acá no se ha visto ningún apoyo y ya se va a acabar el año.
a way there where we can see these results happening because we're already more than halfway through the year and it still continues.
And you might want to share too, that we're working with environmental health from the county, code compliance, and also the police department. We are working that issue as we mentioned to you before. You might want to mention to her in español. Yeah.
Quiere decir que ya están ahorita trabajando.
Environmental health.
Que en Ventura ya se paró, entonces en Oxnard ya se paró y en Oxnard, en esos lugares hubo cero tolerancia y aquí sí ha habido mucha tolerancia al respecto.
Ya están trabajando, nos asegura Zaragoza.
That's right. Thank you. So we are working with the environmental health, with the code compliance and Oxnard PD on that issue. And the people, vendors that are working without any permits and they have to comply with the city code. Thank you. Go ahead.
Quick comment, Chris.
Chris, one at a time, Tom. Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Also, the compliance teams know that these vendors show up typically Friday night after business hours are done. And that's when the teams are out on Friday and Saturday nights. They have confiscated several hundred pounds of meat and they're looking at continuing on the enforcement, and it'll be on the weekend nights when this is most prevalent.
Ev has heard of you. We can't really, but thank her very much for. Muchas gracias, señor.
Gracias. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, our next speaker is Dolores Lopez. Dolores Lopez.
Hello, council members, Mayor Pro Tem McDonald, Mayor Zaragoza. My name is Dolores Lopez, and I am here on behalf of Ventura County Transportation Commission to talk about our new youth ride free fare program that started on September 1st. And the program is designated for youth in the entire county to be able to ride any fixed route bus or a on-demand service for general public in the county free of charge. It's designated towards students K through 12, and they do not need ID unless you're high school age. They are asking for to be prepared to show ID. We do run a different program that is the college ride program, and that's mostly necessary so that we can be able to tell the two different students apart. It is a great program that we hope we actually have started seeing being used quite a bit. We hope that it does enable the youth to start riding public transportation and lead to habits as adults that encourage that. For more information, we do have FAQs up on our website. I also wanted to leave some flyers that we have here for the city.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, and I think we have another young lady that wants to speak. In español or inglés? Español, okay.
Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Jessica Ochoa. Soy de Tacos La Bonita.
Good afternoon. My
Hello,
name
good
is
evening.
Jessica Ochoa.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Ok, muchas gracias por atendernos. El día de hoy estamos aquí.
Thank you for having us.
Okay.
Estamos aquí no nada más nosotros, sino también mis
We are
compañeros
here,
están
not
de
just
este
not just
lado.
I, also my
La
my
mayo-
coworkers, my colleagues.
La mayoría de trailers de Oxnard. ¿Se pueden parar nada más los que son los que venimos a
May you please stand up, the people who
Okay.
are accompanying me today.
Thank you.
Hemos escuchado ahorita que están
We
trabajando
have
sobre este
heard
asunto.
that you guys are working
El Departamento
about
de
regarding our
Salubridad,
concerns,
como también la policía nos han venido manejando
as
lo
well as
mismo,
the
que están
police
trabajando sobre el
have
asunto.
supported us and have
Okay.
addressed our
Pero,
concerns.
¿qué pasa aquí? Ellos siguen
What is going
vendiendo
on here?
y
They
nos
are
siguen
still
quitando
selling.
clientes.
They're still taking our
Ustedes
clients.
nos siguen
You
cobrando
are still
licencias,
charging licenses,
penalidades, bastantes
penalties,
cosas. Y
a
nuestros
lot of
ingresos
things.
cada vez van bajando más. Ellos,
And our
como de
gross
este lado
income
también
keeps
nosotras,
going lower.
tenemos familias
And these
que
ladies have
tenemos que
families. We have
mantener.
families
Todos
that we
nosotros
have to
tenemos
sustain.
empleados que
We
tenemos que
all
mantener.
have employees that we have to
Oxnard no era
pay.
una ciudad así.
Oxnard
Y
was
de verdad
not
nos está creciendo
a
mucha
city this
frustración
way. And
de
this
que
is
vemos
very
que la autoridad
frustrating
llega a una esquina a
because
levantarlos
authority
y en 10 minutos
gets
ellos
to a
recogen lo
corner
poquito que les hayan quedado
to
de
pick
mercancía
up
y se pasan a otra esquina a
of
ponerse.
the merchandise
Y
that's
con
not
nosotros no
there
tienen
with
ni
any
un
permits.
poquito de paciencia si se nos
And
pasa una
a
licencia,
few
si
minutes
se nos
later, they are
pasa
back on.
cualquier
But
cosa,
what
no nos
about
tienen
us?
paciencia, simple y
There's no
sencillamente
patient
nos
with
cierran,
us.
nos dan
Very simple. If we
un
don't comply
recargo.
with policies and procedures,
Entonces,
we get closed
honestamente,
out.
esto viene desde
Honestly,
enero,
this
pero
has
ya
been
estamos
happening since
cansados de escuchar
January, and
que
I am
están
so
trabajando en eso,
tired
que están
that
trabajando en eso.
of
Porque la cosa es que el
you
dinero
all
que
saying that
ingresa al
we are
negocio de
working on
ellos
this.
y al negocio de nosotras se queda en Oxnard. Pagamos agua de aquí de Oxnard, pagamos
We are
biles de
paying
aquí de
water,
Oxnard.
we are paying
Y el
bills,
dinero que llegan estas personas de Los Ángeles y del Valle se lo llevan
and
para
the
allá, no
money
lo gastan aquí.
that
Entonces les pedimos de la manera más atenta y les pedimos de mucho corazón su ayuda, por favor.
at heart, we are asking
Gracias.
for your help.
And
Thank
just for
you.
information in Spanish, we are working with Ventura County Environmental Health, with the Code Compliance and the Police Department. Estamos trabajando con el Condado de Ventura, con Code Compliance y el Departamento de Policía también. Todos. Y ojalá que sí. Muchas gracias por estar aquí. Bienvenidos todos. Gracias. Thank you. Councilman Perrello.
Yes, I hope the translator translates out enough for this group to hear. This is the biggest turnout about a specific issue in a long time, aside from the abortion thing.
Spanish, you want to translate?
The biggest turnout. The Environmental Health Department is of the Ventura County Board of Supervisors.
That's right.
3 supervisors represent Oxnard, Ramirez's office, Lavier's office, and Kelly's office. I suggest that somebody who can understand English, Spanish, translate it to you. You make a pitch at 8:30 in the morning on Tuesday at the Board of Supervisors. Let them know.
Los martes.
Because I appreciate Mayor Pro Tem bringing up the issue about the meat. I'd heard about the meat some time ago, and what I'd heard about the meat, it was spoiled. I believe it was 700 pounds of spoiled meat.
All right.
Spoiled meat being served,
Can we?
and it may be going too long. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I think we need a report to the
There have been
city of it.
multiple speakers and there have been several brief responses for those speakers. So I think
Okay,
Yeah,
until that
yeah.
this comes on an agenda, we can't have.
This items we cannot comment on the agenda, but muchas gracias todos por. Ya los oímos. Gracias, Thank you. Gracias igualmente. Thank you. Take care. Okay. All right, our next item is a report of the city manager. And this is number 1, Public Works Department consideration of local emergency and ratification. Director order regarding the water shortage and emergency and mandatory water conservation. The recommendation is that the city council adopt a resolution confirming the need to continue the local emergency declaration on May 17, 2022 due to the drought condition and lack of adequate water supply, and to adopt a resolution ratifying the DES order number 22-04 of the Director of Emergency Services, modifying the mandatory water conservation measures required during the local emergency. And this is Mr. Wolf. Would you like to share anything else? And
No, Mayor, just here for questions.
okay, so we have 2 items, 1, adopt the resolution, and 2, the resolution for the order 2204. Council members, what's your pleasure?
Can I make a quick comment, Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Mr. Wolf, I've heard from several people that have called in talking about their neighbors running sprinklers
Hmm.
repeatedly during the week, and they're a little hesitant to call in and report their neighbors for fear of them getting a ticket, but my understanding is that we're very low key in our first approach to these people, that it's an informational approach, asking them that your sprinklers are running too much, please curtail that. Then later on, if they don't comply, then we will start doing the enforcement. So I guess my point would be, if you're seeing something, please tell us. We're not going to go out heavy-handed right away. We're going to try and approach this in a reasonable manner and get compliance before we go any further. Would that be correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. We need a motion. I'll motion to approve item 1 and 2.
So
Second.
First of all, Mayor, I would want to check to see if there are any public speakers that are on the Zoom call, may have called in.
My apologies, right. Madam Clerk, because I didn't see any, so my apologies. Any speakers on this item?
Mayor, we do not have any speakers on this item. Thank you.
Either Zoom or in person?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I made a motion to adopt item number 1 and 2, a second by Councilman Lopez. Or was it, Mayor Pro Tem?
Oh, she can have it. You're welcome.
Okay, roll call.
This roll call will be for both item H1 and H2 on the agenda.
Yes.
Thank you.
We adoption of number 1 and 2.
Thank you. Mayor Zaragoza,
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McDonald,
Yes.
Councilmember Madrigal,
Yes.
Councilmember Perrello. Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, Michael. Our next item is, this is business. This is time for the members of the city council to make any brief announcements or any brief reports of activities that they so desire, and also that to place any items in the agenda for any items for future agenda. And we have about 3 minutes to share. We'll start off with Councilman Madrigal.
Thank you very much. I'll actually kind of do the last month. I know it's been a while, but I want to thank everyone in staff and everyone in the public who went out for the 75th year celebration of recreation. You could tell by all staff that worked that event at Colonia Park, their love and commitment, not only to the organization, the city of Oxnard, but to all of its residents. So I want to thank everyone involved. Also, over the last month, I had the pleasure of attending the Colonia neighborhood meeting. It was well attended. There was some issues. Hopefully some of those issues do get resolved sooner rather than later. And overall, it was a good meeting. Today, actually, East Village is having a neighborhood meeting as we speak right now. And I believe next week, West Village will have a meeting next Wednesday. One thing that did come up about at the meeting at Colonia neighborhood was use or lack thereof use of restrooms around our city parks. That was a very controversial issue. And we actually had a few attendees who go from park to park and they have a difficult time finding an open restroom. And then I'll mention that one at the end. But over the last week, I had the pleasure of attending not only the Cesar Chavez back to school night, and I also had the pleasure of going back to my old middle school and going to Fremont. It was a wonderful experience being back. And one thing mentioning schools is just safety right around the schools. I understand, we're all busy, and this not only comes from drivers, but also pedestrians and also bicyclists. We all need to be careful. We all need to share the road. I did hear about a month ago, first week of school, a young child was hit right behind current school. Somebody was on the phone, wasn't paying attention, they hit the kid. These are things that are avoidable. I do understand that sometimes, yes, as a pedestrian, even me this past weekend, I have a bad tendency of not looking both ways. I was within the crosswalk, I did not look both ways. A car was coming. Car honked at me and I took total blame for it. We all have to be careful and we all have to know our situation and, understand that even though it may not be your fault, accidents do happen and, someone may not be looking and they might hit you. Lastly, Had the opportunity of going to the Fiestas Patrias this weekend. That's where, getting there, I didn't look both ways and a car almost hit me. And also, going to a grito with the mayor. So other than that, thank you very much.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Hey, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to wear 4 different transportation hats at one time here. Ventura County Transportation Commission, Gold Coast Transit District, Losan, which is the Pacific Surfliner, Amtrak service from San Diego to San Luis Obispo, and the Central Coast Rail Coordinating Committee, which covers from about Monterey down to San Luis Obispo, because all these comments affect all of them. As you heard earlier, in Ventura County, we are doing the Students Ride for Free program. If you want to take public transportation to school, you can take the big blue bus with VCTC. You can take the green bus with Gold Coast Transit District, I believe Simi Valley, and the Central Ventura County are also provided in the same program through VCTC. Our job is getting students back to school and getting them back into the learning routine. So it's very, very important. And they will ride for free. In terms of Losan, our numbers are coming back up. We're starting to look at buying more equipment to increase the cars and availability. And same thing with Coast Rail Coordinating Committee. And Gold Coast Transit District is looking forward to the future. We're all looking forward to try and build up our ridership numbers. And I saw a post from a friend of mine by the name of Joe Garces, who's a retired firefighter from City of Oxnard. He talked about taking the Amtrak train along the coast up to the Pacific Northwest. And he said it was the most enjoyable experience he's ever had. He's going to become a real train user. If you haven't ridden the train, I would suggest now would be the time to do it. If you want to go to San Diego, it's about a 3-hour trip. You can spend the night, or, if you're really a glutton for punishment, I've done this once or twice. You can ride down for a meeting, have your meeting for an hour, and then ride back home and have 6 wonderful hours on a train. But it's great. It's an adventure. So I encourage everyone to get out, start using public transportation again. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And we're lucky that we just averted a major strike with the trains, so.
Excuse me, Mayor. For the record, I'd like to announce that Councilmember Tehran joined the meeting at 6:52. He rejoined the meeting. Thank you.
Councilman Perillo?
Thank you very much. Had the opportunity for a special meeting of the Parks, Public Works and Transportation Committee Saturday. It was for a committee meeting. It was the biggest turnout that I've had at the meeting since I've been on Public Works and Transportation. A tremendous amount of questions, both written and people coming to the public comment. But I did make an error. I complimented Miguel Fernandez and Steve Nash as members of CAGS that had come to show up. I'd missed Miss Sandy Diaz, and Miss Sandy Diaz is cultural arts. She's involved, and I wanted to correct it. I've emailed her, but I want to publicly correct that. I boo-booed. I'd like to share something that was in the newspaper today. An Oxnard resident, longtime Oxnard resident, a story about the flag the county's going to fly. Mr. Buddy Gibson. In my opinion, the gentleman was slighted because he designed the first flag, and because of a political change at the Board of Supervisors, it was nixed. They made a recognition of him today, but he's a tremendous asset to this community. Been here a long time, native to the Ventura County area, and tremendous accolades for him. But what was done can't unbe done. But I appreciate the Board of Supervisors and Miss Linda Parks for bringing it up. The people that spoke at the public comment here a little earlier about the food vendors. I want to thank the city attorney for reeling me in so that I don't get us in trouble for bringing something up in an item like that. But I think there needs to be a report to the public of what was found when the Ventura County Environmental Health came in and did a test, because the food issues is not something the city of Oxnard is responsible to monitor. This is a Ventura County thing. And what they found when they made their test was eye-opening. I don't think that should be swept under the rug. That's happening in this city. So if you want to stop at one of these places, be aware of what was found. Ask some questions. These people are asking questions. The city manager informed me that they had already gone to the Board of Supervisors. I appreciate that. But if you're going to stick a needle in somebody, you go to the place where the people work for the people that are in charge. The Board of Supervisors calls the shot in environmental health. They need to be put to the test. 3 of them, 1 deceased, represent this city in various parts of the city. The comments, and I'm very grateful that no one hit Mr. Madrigal, Councilmember Madrigal in the crosswalk.
Yeah, parade.
I almost nailed a person on a bicycle because they cut out of the darkness in front of me going against traffic. People are taking a lot of risks, either driving cars, riding bicycles, or pedestrians. But specifically, the people that are pushing the limits on the yellow light before it turns red and getting into that intersection, as they speed up, you can hear them coming. It sounds like a freight train coming. They've got it floored and they barely get into the intersection and the light's red. The same thing is happening in certain areas with stop signs. Had the opportunity to attend a BICEP meeting today. We had the Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency meeting last week. Attended the Seaview Neighborhood Council where there was a large presentation about Quimby funds. There is going to be another meeting for that neighborhood. My understanding is that neighborhood has invited the city manager to attend. I believe the city manager is looking forward to it. Attended the FEMA issue with respect to, or called in on the FEMA issue with respect to the Halico site, and attended the harbor meeting at the PAC. The harbor meeting was tremendously attended. A lot of people. I've asked for this item to come back at other times. 2 specific things. The Southwest Park across the street from the airport is an extremely highly used park. Touch football, kids football, but mostly soccer. There is not a bathroom in the park. There is a bathroom in the Boys and Girls Club that is chained shut. It's been that way for a long time. The second thing is there's complaints about people leaving human waste on sidewalks in various parts of the city. I believe the city needs to consider, what are we going to do with public restrooms? We can't have a health, safety, and welfare issue that is being shared in social media. And the last point, I am in an election. I appreciate the city clerk giving me the information about what was allowed and not allowed with political signs. At the last election, that was not followed very closely, specifically on the signs of signs. This one, the locations of signs, is not being followed very closely. If it is not, I intend to take advantage of the same things that the other individuals are doing. I just want to put people on notice. I know it's not right, but in politics and in love, all is fair, and war too. So thank you very much.
Councilman Lopez.
Mr. Mayor,
No, go on, Bob.
real quick, Mr. Nguyen, can we extend an invitation to environmental health and see if they would come down to one of our meetings and do perhaps a 15-minute report on what they've done, what they've encountered?
It's
Yes.
part of the request, it's the council member. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Lopez.
Thank you, Mayor. And Mayor Pro Tem beat me to that request. I think it would be great to have a report on this. You read
It was a
my
little
mind.
note.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. It's definitely been a few couple of days and weeks. And it's very noticeable that there's a lot of activity, a lot of events, a lot of meetings happening throughout the community. So just very briefly, some of the ones that I've attended was the Blackstock South Neighborhood Council meeting, the Cal Gisler Neighborhood Council meeting as well, both who have reactivated their council. So it's really great to see that. And hopefully more residents and neighbors will get involved and become active. And the Cal Gisler neighborhood is going to have a neighborhood cleanup this coming Saturday from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And I also attended the EPA meeting, the informational meeting on the Halico Superfund site, the Economic Development Collaborative meeting, and the Beacon meeting. All that happened last week. So it was definitely a busy week. And then reporting back on my attendance at the California League of Cities annual conference. was able to listen in on a few sessions and ran into our city attorney. So definitely a lot of great work and possibly programs that we can bring back for Oxnard. But on the business portion side of the conference, which I joined, there was I think the only issue that came up of possible interest is an organized group of cities who are looking to place a measure on the ballot probably in 2024, trying to regain local control. So I just share that as one of the topics that is out there. But this item was referred to the resolutions committee to more properly vet this issue. So just want to report back on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Turan, is your daughter doing good in school?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, they're both doing very well, which
Okay.
is what I can hope for considering how I did in school. So I'm glad to hear that.
That's why you was late, so you were at school.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the time. Very quickly, I want to extend another thanks to the Board of Supervisors and staff from the County of Ventura and to my colleagues for the Board of Supervisors meeting from last week where a resolution was presented and comment was taken in remembrance of the late Supervisor Carmen Ramirez. It was very nice to see the turnout for that, as well as a number of members of the public and staff from the County of Ventura and the City of Oxnard who came as well. So truly a mark that she left on the entire county and the community of Oxnard. So I was proud to be a part of that. Tomorrow, the 21st, there will be a Wagon Wheel Neighborhood Council meeting, and I know we have an info consent item for them this evening as well. And then Sierra Linda Neighborhood Council will have their meeting on Thursday, the 22nd, and River Park will have their meeting on Wednesday, the 28th. And I attended yesterday the first of a series of expanded polystyrene ordinance meetings that Councilmember Lopez and I have been working with planning on for some time now. And the next meeting will be held tomorrow, Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. at the South Oxnard Center. And I know that time may sound odd to some folks. These meetings are open to members of the public, but the intended audience, or we're hoping to do in targeted outreach to business owners within the city of Oxnard who utilize polystyrene, otherwise known as styrofoam products for to-go boxes or cups or packing materials, et cetera. So we are intentionally being inclusive of all of our business community so they can be at the table, ask questions, express any concerns, and be able to get the information. And members of the public are welcome to join as well and do the same. So again, the next meeting will be tomorrow at 9:30 at the South Oxnard Center. There will be a live interpretation available as well for any Spanish-speaking individuals who prefer to hear the information in Spanish. And then the last of the 3 meetings will be a virtual meeting Monday, the 26th at 10 a.m. over Zoom. You can find information about all this at the website, oxnard.org/polystyrene-ordinance. I know that's not a super intuitive link to remember, but polystyrene is exactly how it sounds, -ordinance at the city's website. And lastly, I do want to just remind folks once more that we're on September 20th, and September is Suicide Prevention Month, and a very important topic that is often difficult for people to talk about, or maybe they're uncomfortable hearing about it. And it's my hope that in being open about the conversation and the topic, that anyone who's struggling with thoughts of suicide or knows someone who is, knows that there are resources out there for them. And just one I'm going to share again is the 988 number, similar to dialing 911 or dialing 211. You can dial 988 from any number, landline or cell phone, and it will connect with the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Alternatively, someone can literally from a cell phone text to the number 988 and say hello or type anything, and the response will come in automated that will say, "Thank you for contacting the Suicide Crisis Lifeline. Please respond with this phrase or number in order to speak to someone," and then they will be connected with a live person over texting. So just know that if you know someone or you yourself have struggled with thoughts of suicide, know that there is help out there and there are people who wish to help. Those are my comments, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I also like to share that I attended several meetings over the last couple of weeks, and especially yesterday, we attended the Fisherman's Wharf RFP proposals that the county is proposing for Fisherman's Wharf, and of course, our city manager, our city attorneys were there, and Councilman Perrello and myself, but we had about 200 plus people that attended that meeting over at the PAC. Additionally, I had the opportunity also with council members and so forth. We did not participate in speaking there for the EPA, the Helico site, from FEMA, that was pretty well attended also. Additionally, I had the opportunity to celebrate the Mexican independence, El Grito, there at Plaza Park. It was over 3,000 plus people that participated in the event, and also in the parade, the 16th of September Independence Parade for the Mexican independence here in downtown Oxnard. And also had the opportunity to thank again our Chairman Perrello and Councilor Lopez for the meeting that we had on a Street Hump Saturday. And I want to thank staff, our Public Works Director, our City Manager, and their folks for an excellent presentation on street humps, which I think is also going to help us. And some of the topics that we also discussed was potentially for the future, that we can have our motorists and our pedestrians make sure that they look at when they're going to cross the street, and the motorists to make sure that they look for the pedestrians and also the young people and others with riding bikes, which is really, really important. And all of us here that near misses, and potentially running over somebody in this intersection. So we got to be really, really careful about that. Councilman Turan.
Thank you for just an extra minute, Mayor. One thing I'd like to request for a potential future report is there was an item that recently came to council regarding, I think it's 10 intersections within the city that are eligible for signal and timing upgrades and replacement of the signal lights and the heads and everything. And Doris and Ventura Road is one of those intersections, I think it was 10 intersections. And I think that with the number of collisions that happen at that particular intersections, and likely others that are identified as being eligible for upgrades for that reason, I'm wondering if we could just get some kind of report in the near future about these intersections, how they came to qualify for these upgrades, and then what a timeline would look like in rolling that out. And I only say that because I've seen on social media a number of times, every time an impact or a collision happens at that particular intersection, folks bring it up and ask about it. And I feel like every time I say the same thing, well, this is the information, this is what we're doing. And so I think a public report on that in the future would be great, just to see where we are in timeline.
And let me add a little something to that, to 2nd Street and Ventura Road and Till Club Road. That's really, really, that I think we need a left turn arrow or something there. That needs to be, I'd like to add that to the request then. Okay, so thank you so much. Our next item then would be the review of the information consent items. We have 1 to 6 items, from 1 to 6. And Madam, do we have any speakers on, Madam Clerk?
Mayor, we do not have any speakers for consent items.
Or do we have one? We have one up there.
We just had a hand up. One moment, please.
Just came in. Okay.
Public speaker with phone number ending in 9791. Hello, would you like to introduce
Hi.
yourself?
Go ahead.
Yes. Hi, my name is Amanda Meir, and I was recently elected the chair of the Wagon Wheel Neighborhood Council. And I just want to thank Council Member Taryn, as well as the city, for establishing the neighborhood councils. And I look forward to working not only with our council member, but with the entire council. moving forward. So I just wanted to say thank you. And I look forward to a wonderful year.
Thank you for sharing.
Amanda, may I please have your last name?
Last name is Meere, Meere.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers, Madam Clerk?
Mayor, that was the only hand up. No additional speakers for consent items.
Okay, and nobody here in the audience. Councilmember Tehran?
I'm sorry, Mayor, could you please repeat that?
I'm sorry, Councilman Tehran? No? Brown? So no other speakers then?
No additional speakers. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, council members, items 1 to, I'm sorry.
I did have a comment. I just wasn't sure if Ms.
Okay,
Brown
go
wanted to
ahead.
speak. Okay. I just wanted to very quickly regarding item L6 for the neighborhood council for Wagon Wheel. I also wanted to say thank you to the community who have really jump-started the neighborhood council. Even though there was this kind of gray period where they had to have their neighborhood council ratified by the city council, this is really great to see that they have stepped up as residents and as an executive board to really engage everybody who lives in the Wagon Wheel development. And there's a lot of great work happening there and a lot of really great ideas on how they'd like to move forward as a group. And we already had a joint meeting with the neighborhood council, the HOA, and with the city on an item, and they jumped right on that. So they're looking like they're going to be a really good group. Looking forward to working with them as well. And thank you to Ms. Meere for speaking tonight.
And thank you for that. I also like to share that I wanted to thank Jack Villa and Councilman Perello. We were there when we first went for the activation of that neighborhood, and Jack Villa was very instrumental in inviting us in all the neighborhood, because it's a beautiful neighborhood, by the way. So thank you for sharing. Councilman Perello.
Yes. Diane Velzy from the Orchard Park neighborhood was also there, but you're right.
That's right.
Starting the whole thing up was a big deal. If I can make a suggestion, in Public Works and Transportation Committee, I've asked for a report on the progress of the levy system. I think the Wagon Wheel Neighborhood Council would like to know, as their private developers building that levee protection with the floodgate, how that's going, and possibly we can kill two birds with one stone by giving an update to the general area, whether it be South Bank, Sierra Linda, River Ridge, Windsor North, or Wagon Wheel. That's just.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have items 1 to 6. Council members, was a pleasure.
The recommended action.
Move recommendation. Second by Mayor Pro Tem. First by Perello, second by Mayor Pro Tem. Roll call.
Councilmember Tehran,
Yes.
Mayor Zaragoza,
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McDonald,
Yes.
Councilmember Madrigal,
Yes.
Councilmember.
Parking availability in residential areas by allowing curb cuts while minimizing impacts to the existing on-street parking. Recommendation, City Council adopt a resolution titled a resolution of the City Council of the City of Oxnard adopting a citywide residential curb program. And before we have our staff share, we have a speaker, Pat Brown. Pat Brown, M1.
My father's cousin, this is up in the Northwest. After she graduated from high school, everybody was going out and they were having a big party affair. And they were all driving cars. And of course, in those days, you could drive when you were 14 during the day and 16 at night. So by the time you graduated from high school, you'd been driving for some time. So anyway, she was in a car and they were having a great time, and something happened and The car hit a big, huge tree and she became paralyzed for the rest of her life. While she was in a hospital, she met up with a fellow who had been in the tail end of the Korean War, and he had gotten paralyzed from the waist down. They ended up getting married, and they lived in Southern California in the area near Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm in that general area by themselves. And he would help her getting in and out of bed and all of that kind of thing. And they decided that we had to have curb cuts. Now, this was in the early 1960s. And they went to Washington, D.C. and the airlines many times to get the federal government to approve this for the curb cuts in cities. And everybody knows that it's not just for the people walking, it's for those who are in wheelchairs. So they kept on doing this, and they are no longer alive now. They would be up in their 90s by now if they were still alive. But they were very successful in doing this. And I have heard a number of people here in Oxnard say that they would like to have giant curb cuts in their front yard so that they could take and do a half circle for their car in the front yard and take part of the front yard to do that, or come just straight up and meet up with a garage and come on their properties. I've heard people come up here and talk about it, and I've heard people talk about it in all kinds of other activities and meetings and so forth. So I think that the public would really like to have that. Not everybody is going to be able to, but I think the public would like it. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Council members, we have Jeff here. I know this is a pre-recorded item. So council members, any questions of Jeff Agnelli?
I just have a comment.
Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem. And we also have Michael, both Jeff and Michael. Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
I've gotten a lot of emails saying, from people saying, I support this, it's going to improve parking. And it may or may not. I think what we need to remind people of is that wherever you put a curb cut is going to take away probably at least one parking space on the street. Especially if you do a circular drive where you have an in and out curb cut, that takes away two parking spots on the street. So I just want people to understand that if this is approved, that I don't have a problem supporting this, but it may not be the panacea that they're looking for, of getting a lot of extra parking because they can park in their driveway. That's great, but the parking that you're using on the street will probably disappear because of the curb cut to get you into your driveway. So I don't have a problem with the program, but I just think we need to be reminding people to be cognizant of the effect of creating a lot of curb cuts. So that's it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Tron.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm hoping that without violating Measure M, that our staff here can talk a little bit about some of the proposed regulations or guidelines we'd have for folks who wish to get a curb cut. Because Ms. Brown brought it up, and then our Mayor Pro Tem brought up, about having a double curb cut with like a half circular driveway. And maybe we could talk a little bit about what is and is not going to be allowed should this move forward. And I do want to share that, I'm happy to see this moving forward. I've been following it closely. This actually dates back for me personally to my neighborhood council chair days when this is when a lot of neighbors really wanted to have something like this move forward. So I'm really happy to be sitting here today having this discussion. So that's just my question for staff initially. If we could talk a little bit about it and kind of what the proposed criteria are for folks to get a curb cut if they'd like the permit to do so.
Council member, can I ask to add a little bit to your comments? I want on page 6 of the pros and cons, I think, are really important to really understand on the curb cuts. If if you don't mind, sir, to add to your comments.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Council, Jeff Pengelly, Assistant Director. The primary motivation for this policy or this program that's going to be citywide is to facilitate additional off-street parking. So one, to answer Mayor Pro Tem's question, two curb cuts per house would not be allowed, one per property. And it's primarily geared towards alley loaded residences where prior policies have stated that that alley access is your only allowed curb cut. So properties with alley access really had a very limited options in obtaining a curb cut legally through our prior policies. So this would replace that. Some of the things this attempts to address, some of the pros and cons, as you mentioned, potential criticism with a curb cut policy or a citywide policy would be among other issues that they can increase stormwater runoff from the additional hardscape. That it really doesn't address the parking issues because, as you pointed out, Mayor Pro Tem, you lose a parking space, at least one for each curb cut. There's a concern that the curb cuts, if not properly designed, can limit ADA access on the sidewalk. And, there's also an aesthetic issue related to loss of landscaping, but also the potential that people would use those curb cuts and driveways in their front yard to store inoperable vehicles or RVs or things like that. This program attempts to address all of those. First of all, it limits, as I said, to one curb cut per property. That would be in addition to alley access that property may already have. The width of the curb cut is limited. It's an extra wide curb cut would not be allowed. There's an actual dimension, 12 to 15 feet maximum, and some spacing requirements to avoid streetlights, fire hydrants, et cetera. Again, a key is that 2 parking spaces and a dimension is required is in the text here. 20 by 24 feet needs to be provided as a parking area on site so that 2 vehicles can park on the property in order to potentially lose 1 on-street parking space. We have 2 different design standards that also address the curbs that have parkways versus those where the sidewalk is flush to the curb. And we have disabled access compliant details for both of those situations. And then stormwater runoff, obviously adding hardscape, if it's done in enough area throughout the city, could be a stormwater runoff concern. And what we're requiring is that permeable paving solutions be used. We didn't specify with great detail what that means on purpose because there's a lot of different products out there. Some are more aesthetic than others. Some blend with the landscaping. Some are more like pavers, but they're designed to allow stormwater to permeate down through the hardscape instead of just running off. And the landscaping standards will be enforced as part of this permit, recognizing drought issues, drought ordinance issues, landscaping for the remainder of the yard will be required, and the maximum paving in that front yard will be limited to 50% or whatever is required to fit those 2 vehicular parking spaces on site. So a net gain of 1 parking space is expected for each of these applicants. And we believe we've addressed some aesthetic issues, stormwater, disabled access, and this program explicitly prohibits the parking of recreational vehicles, inoperable or unregistered vehicles in the front yard area.
Councilor Madrigal.
Thank you. I know, been hearing this not only from residents for a while, actually by being up front. My grandmother lives on Bartolo Square, the neighborhood, and I know that in her household, after many tries, and even them coming here and actually speaking with then Mayor Holden, so that's probably 15 years ago, they were never able to get a curb cut in the Bartolo Square neighborhood in her household. And I know recently, even I spoke with someone 2 weeks ago that they tried heavily to get a curb cut in the Bartolo Square neighborhood, No such luck. So I do know this is going to be a process. It's going to take some time. I know there are many, many frustrated residents throughout the city who have gone through this process and not been successful. If this is approved, what is the future timeline of this?
There's two aspects to the timeline, Mayor, council members. The program will be run for 2 years, but it doesn't stop, or 200 permits. The goal is to reassess the program and bring any necessary changes, fixes, tweaks back to council at that time. But the program, as soon as council's approval and the resolution becomes effective, would start running that same day. I don't know, Stephen, if this is a 30-day effective date from the resolution, or is it immediate? Yes. So as soon as, if council approves this citywide policy, it would be effective immediately afterwards.
That's one of the recommendations, the 200 permits or 2 years, right?
Yeah, so again, the way it's written is that we would evaluate it no later than 2 years or the first 200 permits, whichever is sooner. And, you know, we should have enough feedback at that time to understand if there are any tweaks, adjustments, and we'll have, you know, feedback from contractors, inspectors, and obviously residents utilizing the program.
So the Councilman's grandma can apply then for.
Yeah, absolutely. Assuming council passes the resolution.
Councilmember.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
You bring up an interesting comment saying that it's primarily for alley loaded or residences. I'll use my house as an example. I have a curb cut to the front. You drive through a porte cochere into the rear yard. There's driveway parking for 2 cars there, plus a 2-car garage. So my question, which doesn't open onto the alley, but it abuts the alley. So my question, and you may not be able to answer this, you'll probably hate me for this one, but if I decide to reconfigure my garage and put up a door, a garage door to access from the alley, is that going to be a problem?
Mayor Pro Tem Council. So when I stated earlier that this is primarily geared, it's not primarily geared towards alley loaded properties, but I did state their primary beneficiaries because of the current policy that if you have an alley if you have alley access, that is your one and only curb cut. This will allow front yard curb cuts, even if you have alley access. So if you don't have alley access and you don't have a front yard curb cut, you could still get one through this program. But only one curb cut per property.
Okay.
But in the front yard.
I guess the answer is I don't know if you can put a garage door on the backside of your garage or not at this point.
Right. I think your question has nothing to do with this program. And I think he was asking that on purpose to see if we're awake.
So Jeff,
Food for thought.
also looking at that, in some cases, we can allow tandem parking. What would, is that because there's not enough width in the lot for tandem parking?
Well, so yes, Mayor and Council. So the idea is that the permit would allow, or the program would allow 2 parking spaces, would require, 2 parking spaces on the property, 20 by 24 feet. There could be property configurations that we haven't envisioned that maybe that doesn't quite fit, and we still want to be able to facilitate this. So the next possibility would be tandem parking. Somebody couldn't come in and say, I want tandem parking when they could fit the 20 by 24 space. That's the first option. Tandem parking is an option when the 20 by 24 space on site will not work.
Not allow it, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. Councilman Mitterrand.
Thank you. One question that comes to mind, and this may, I think I know what the response might be, but I'll ask it anyways. So one of the requirements is that in order to get the curb cut, the permit to do the curb cut, you have to be able to have a net gain in parking by having a curb cut that is 1 car length in size, but you're taking 2 cars off of the street, correct?
That's the idea, yes.
Okay, and so the other side of that requirement is also that those 2 vehicles can't be inoperable and they can't be RVs, correct?
Correct. No, let me backtrack a minute. When you said you're taking two vehicles off the street, I mean, the curb cut itself, because of the width, you will lose one on-street parking. I think that's what you're asking. Just wanted to be clear.
Correct. There is a net gain of one space because you take two cars
Absolutely.
off the street.
Absolutely.
Yes. And the reasoning behind the prohibition of inoperable cars and recreational vehicles is for that reason, because they tend to sit versus having cars that are operable and going on daily trips, actually parking and leaving, correct?
That's correct. That's the main motivation behind this policy, is to facilitate additional parking within neighborhoods by providing a net gain of one parking space on site, two on site, a net for that property of one, because they lose one for the curb cut itself.
Okay. As a couple just follow-up questions to that, folks who have already over the years paved over a portion of their yard, let's say that they use pavers, it's less than 50%. They just have been jumping the curb or using some other means to get on and off of the curb. Would they be eligible to now apply for this if they meet all the other criteria?
Well, there's two aspects to that. You mentioned jumping the curb. So assuming they haven't, cut the curb and created a makeshift curb ramp out of concrete. The curb ramp that they would install would have to meet current requirements, ADA and other things. The on-site hardscape is limited to that parking area, no more than 50% of the total front yard area. So the exception is if it's an unusually small lot and that 20 by 24 front yard parking area takes up more than 50%, just because of the geometry and size of the front yard. That doesn't prohibit this program. That would be an exception, but your paving in the front yard is limited to 50% or that 20 by 24 parking space. If you have additional area paved to meet the landscaping standards and the requirements of this program, you may have to remove some hardscape.
Okay, understood. And I only asked that question because I know a number of neighborhoods have had people who have done that and paved over a portion of their yard, and absent a curb cut, have just put blocks of wood or homemade ramps or something that is there and removable for the street sweeper so they can go in and out of their paved portion of their yard. So I was just wondering if those folks would be able to at least apply for this program, and if they had to make modifications, that would be expressed to them up front, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the stipulations is that anyone applying for this program, if there's any degree of nonconformity with, if they've installed a curb ramp or just a makeshift ramp or some of the hardscape issues, we would work with them to rectify that and comply with this program as part of the permitting process.
Okay, thank you. And one last question on that is regarding recreational vehicles. Maybe you can help me kind of differentiate these in my head. So if they get the curb cut or the permit to do the curb cut, they can't park a recreational vehicle in that spot. What about existing driveways that are already parking RVs? They created that driveway in the front yard for the purpose of parking an RV there. Is that in violation of any city code, or is it just that they wouldn't be able to do the curb cut program because they're already, the purpose was to park an RV there? I'm just trying to differentiate my head, like if there's any way to address that.
That's a good question. So if somebody has, when you say they have an RV parked on site, I'm thinking that they have a curb cut already, but you're saying perhaps in a scenario where they don't have a curb cut.
They may or may not. I've
get it up there somehow.
Yeah, I've received comments from members of the public with neighbors with such a setup.
I think the program does not envision people obtaining legal curb cuts to facilitate RV parking.
Okay, that's right. That's helpful. Thank you very much.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Well, kind of going to be my comment, because in my neighborhood, there are several houses that have an existing curb cut and they park RVs on their property legally. And so I think it may create an issue for us. Let's say I live in a neighborhood, I've got my RV in a pre-completed driveway. Councilmember Perello lives across the street. He cuts a curb or gets a curb cut, and then later on moves his RV up into the driveway, and the city comes out and says, hey, you can't have that. And immediately what he does, he points at me, he goes, well, how come he can have it and I can't? We may be setting ourselves up for some grief here. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I don't expect an answer at this point. Just kind of food for thought.
Something to think
I
of.
hate to put you on the spot like that. I apologize.
Ashley?
So Tim, I do want to point out, and I know we might just be using your property as an example, but the program actually is not applicable to the Henry T. Oxnard Historic District.
Oh, it does not.
So you can continue to park there because you can't get a separate permit for it. And then I wanted just to follow up on Councilmember Tron's comment about, or question about the recreation. So currently, because we're saying that it needs to be, the program says it cannot be utilized to park the commercial vehicles, recreational vehicles, or store inoperable. And then another section says that they're going to have to show the registration. So again, it is to promote the off-street parking to address that. But that could be some of the feedback that we get in this 2-year period and the 200 permits. If we continue to hear that as feedback, or that the Henry T. Oxnard really wants to be part of this, that is all good feedback over the next 2 years or 200 permits that we can evaluate and bring back.
And I have to compliment you. You've given the city manager great pride in embarrassing me like this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilman Perillo.
Thank you. There's been this is good discussion, and Mr. Pengali, thank you very much. I appreciated the information about the hardscape when people have basically used ramps to get up on their yard and basically cemented the entire yard, and there'll be 3 cars parked on the street. Years ago, before I was on council, there was a code enforcement that took it very aggressively when council said you couldn't do that. And so they picked up all the ramps, and he ended up losing his job. Some may remember that. And that is still going on. People use ramps to jump the curb and park on the lots. So if I'm correct, I understand you. You cannot have more than 50% of your front yard in asphalt or cement. Is that correct?
Correct. Hardscape installed for this program will be permeable. The exception is if you have unusually small front yard, or the configuration is such that that minimum area to park 2 cars on that new hardscape exceeds the 50%, that would be the only exception. But other than that, anything beyond that would need to be meet the landscape standards.
And this is a good project, a good item, and a good discussion. So if I carry that one step further, an individual has a driveway, but he's got 100% cement in the front yard. Are there any ramifications for that individual?
So he's got a driveway with no curb cut in this scenario, or no legal curb cut.
He's not asking for a curb cut because he's got his driveway curb cut,
Cemented down.
but he's turned the entire front yard into a parking lot.
I don't have 100% bulletproof answer for that question. I'd have to talk to code compliance to understand what city ordinances are govern. What is something that's not requiring a permit in the front yard? I think there are landscape standards that apply to most neighborhoods throughout the city. I've seen that type of installation throughout the city. But I'm not prepared at this moment to say what exactly ramifications there are. I think code compliance has some tools they can use in that case.
Okay, I appreciate your frankness, and I think that has to be addressed because there are more and more solid front yards being put in on Saturdays and Sundays when city staff is unaware of it. And Snow Avenue, H Street can give you multiple other streets where this is going on. And these are not older neighborhoods. The other thing, and I want to follow up because I think Mr. McDonald asked a darn good question. He has a garage that backs up to an alley, but there is no access to the garage on the alley. If he decides to put a garage door on there, I don't believe you answered the question when he asked it. Is that something that does not fall in this purview? Or because he has a garage that backs up to an alley, there is an assumption that he's got a door that goes to the alley?
Councilmember Perello, so if whether he's got a garage door or not, I don't believe, unless I'm misunderstanding the question, would be affected by this program. So if he has the garage door to the alley, he's got an alley access. Under this program, he could still, assuming he lived in a different neighborhood, he could still potentially get a curb cut under this program in addition to the alley access. So if he does not have alley access, he's got a garage that does not have a garage door that opens into the alley. It wouldn't affect that property's ability to use this program. They could still get the front yard curb cut.
Okay. And I'm assuming if he has a garage, just assuming, on his property and the back of the garage goes to the alley and there's no access to that garage from the alley, he must already have a curb cut
From the front.
to get to the garage.
Correct, yes.
And so he could apply for another curb cut?
No, very good point. One curb cut per property, but in addition to that, one front yard curb cut per property. In addition to that, they could have alley access. But the true curb cut on the front yard side, there's only one allowed per property. So good point. Yes, if you had a garage with a garage door facing the front yard, but it's tucked in the back, obviously there's got to be a way to get to that from the front yard curb cut.
And
Thank you.
Councilmember, I appreciate your question, but
I'm
that would probably be more of a planning question instead of a development services question. And Mr. Pengilly comes from a development services background, so I don't think it's fair to pin him down too hard on that.
Well, I can
It
tell
really
you,
should be kicked over to planning and ask them.
I can tell you that some of my constituents will already be emailing me going, why didn't you ask that question? So 2 more questions. It was mentioned that if we have a curb cut, we take one parking place off the street, but we're going to look at one positive because we're going to park 2 cars in the curb cut. What if we don't have a deep lot and the individual wants to make a single car curb cut, but wants to expand, basically make a 2-car, the width of a 2-car garage piece of slab? Can you do that?
If they can't fit, I mean, in general, the answer would be if they can't fit two vehicles on site, they don't qualify for this program.
So it sounds like he would be able to do that as long as he can get 2 cars on the lot off the street. He would be able to do it, but he'd have to figure out through some kinds of, rigmarole to get cars side by side. If the house is too close to the street, so he can't get 2 of them into the house.
Qualify for the tandem?
Well, there's 3 options. There's the 20 by 24 foot is the initial requirement. If
For one car.
What's that?
For 1 car.
20 by 24 foot parking space for 2 cars on site.
Okay.
But 1 curb cut of a limited width.
And the curb cut for that is 1 car with curb cut.
Yeah, between 12 and 15 feet is the width of the curb cut.
Okay.
The next option, if there's something unique about that property, is they have to have a tandem parking. So still 2 cars parked on the property in order to get the curb cut.
That's right.
There is one final caveat where there's just something really unusual about this property. It says where the city determines these standards are not feasible for a given property, the community development director may consider a modification of these standards. So that would not be the norm. That would be for some really unusual circumstance where there's just perhaps like what you described, but that's going to be the 3rd tier by some really unusual circumstances unique to that property.
Would an action as you described come back to the council to be approved? And the reason I ask that, somebody across the street's going to go, how come he got it and I didn't?
That, according to this resolution, that action would not come back before council. It's anticipated to be extremely rare, and the first 2 options are going to be the norm.
Okay, and thank you. And the last question. If an individual has a property and they have a garage and they have decided, as we have a brand new home being built in, I think it's Wilson neighborhood, they're going to put an accessory dwelling unit and they're creating the home that's going to be built as also having an accessory dwelling unit in the home. Does that exempt or entitle them to take advantage of this program?
Well, one of the things driving demand for parking spaces is the slow but escalating increase in ADU applications. This program,
Applications of small home units?
the ADU applications, accessory dwelling unit applications, we're seeing an exponential increase in those. So a property with single family or duplex property with an ADU application is entitled to use this program. The one difference is if your garage is not a legally converted garage by the ADU process or some other process, but that's generally the only process there is. If your garage is intended to be used as parking, there is a garage inspection required and a covenant showing that your garage is used for vehicle parking. If it is, however, converted to an ADU legally through, the process, you are exempt from that obvious requirement to keep your garage used for parking. So ADU or not, you are entitled to use this program, the way it's written. And that is, again, a consideration in the demand for parking in neighborhoods throughout the city is the escalation in ADU permits. But the ADU itself only affects whether or not a garage inspection is required as part of this program or not.
I appreciate the time you've taken with me in answering my questions. I really do. Just if you have this number, I'd appreciate it. If you don't, can we get it in the future? How many permits for ADUs have been applied for in the city of Oxnard?
I thought about grabbing that number and I apologize.
Okay,
I
no
don't
problem.
have it off the top of my head and I don't want to misspeak, but it is escalating rapidly.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I do.
Councilmember Lopez? No? Okay, so then go ahead.
Real quick, Mr. Pengelly, thank you very much for the information. You don't make many appearances before us and after tonight, you may never want to come back again, but
I enjoy
I
it.
think you did a fantastic job. Thank you for your efforts and being patient with us. It's very, very good.
She's been
pleasure.
baptized. Councilman Tron.
My pleasure.
Councilman Tron?
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you again, Mr. Pengili. I really appreciate it as well. Two really quick things. There are garages that have double doors. There's some in the Wilson neighborhood, the newer development that happened on H between Second Street and I believe it's Palm. And they developed that with a garage door that opens to the alley and then another garage door that opens to a pad in the yard. And there's at least one home in the Fremont South neighborhood that I've seen has that as well. It's very unique, but super useful if you can get it. But I did want to ask also, and maybe Mr. Wolf can help with this, with the landscape standards that are attached to this as well, is this not a really great opportunity for homeowners to look at converting their landscaping to low water usage, drought tolerant California native landscaping?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I would encourage them to visit our website that provides that information about how to do that.
And what is that website?
It's in the public works section. It's in our water section. I've given the website before and I'm now blanking on it, but if you just Google Oxnard
and you'll find it.
And turf removal, you'll find it.
Okay. And I'm guessing there might be rebates potentially available for them as well.
Back either.
Say that again.
I'm sorry.
I said, Mr. Wolf may not want to come back in again either. And
Yeah.
Councilmember, on the double doors like that, it's kind of an anecdotal comment, but in the very old days before cars, you had houses that were horse and buggy and carriage. They had two sets of doors because you could get the horse in with the carriage, but trying to get the horse out with the carriage was a real challenge. So they had doors on front and back to accommodate that.
All right. It's before my time, but it makes sense. Thank you.
Before my time too, and I've been around a long time.
So now we understand why the mayor pro tem asked if he could make a new door in the back end of his garage.
Michael, anything else?
I just wanted to answer Councilmember Tran's question. Yes, so there are rebate programs available up to $3 a square foot for that.
Great. Thank you. And my apologies for putting you on the spot with the website. I thought it was like that, but thank you for
I'll
that.
find it.
Thank you so much. So council members, go ahead. Mr. Wolf?
Well, I had a question asked of me. The rebates are, as you mentioned, a certain amount for a certain square foot. It has to be a living lawn. I've had people ask me if they can get a rebate for the dead lawn. I've had people ask me that.
Yeah, it's not our.
So we'll work on an answer for that. If
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
It's actually not our program. It's not the city of Oxnard's program. It's actually through Met and Cayugas. And there's a lot of requirements. And so I would encourage folks to go online, find that application. There's phone numbers to call and ask those questions. But yes, typically it is a replacement of an existing lawn. You have to get approval first before you remove it, typically is the process. Now they've made some exceptions and made some exceptions and changes based on the drought. There used to be a much shorter time frame when you had to, after applying, to actually do the transition. They made some exceptions. So I would strongly encourage that. Visit the website, Metropolitan Water District's website. It has a lot of information on there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, council members, recommendation is that the city council adopt a proposed citywide residential curb cut program and to direct staff to review the program after the first 200 permits are issued or 2 years, whichever occurs first, for any potential changes to help facilitate the program going forward.
Mayor, City
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to respond to the question of Councilman Perrello. As of the end of June, we had 120 planning permits applied for ADUs. So from January to June, 120 new permits. And this year we have issued roughly 35, just under 35 permits that are under construction. And we're working to get that more updated to know a longer total, but that's in 9 months in. That was only 6 months of the reporting. So substantial increase that we've seen and we're planning on as part of the housing element.
Thank you. So do we have a motion?
I'll move the recommended action.
Motion by Tehran and second by Council Madrigal. Roll call.
Councilmember Lopez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McDonald,
Yes.
Councilmember Madrigal,
Yeah.
Councilmember Perrello,
Yes.
Councilmember Tehran,
Yes, and thank you to our staff for all their work on this.
Mayor Zaragoza.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 6-0.
And thank you to staff for that excellent presentation. Okay, our next item is Public Works Department. This is agreement A 8492 with Toro Enterprises Incorporated for lift stations improvement projects. Project station number 1, 2, and 3 and 30 specification number PW 2189. And the recommendation of City Council to approve and authorize the following totals. And that would be $3,586,800 project fund for the lift station improvement projects, station 1, 2, and 30 specifications, PW 2189. Project number 226601. And one is a mayor execute an agreement of A 8492 with Toro Enterprises Incorporated for the amount of $2,989,000 for the project. And number 2, the project contingency amount of $298,900. And 3, the project allocation amount of $298,900 for engineering inspection, survey, and project management. And authorize the city authorize the city manager or designate to approve the budget appropriation in the amount of $2,686,800 from the available wastewater operation fund balance for the use for this project. And of course, this item was a pre-review, it was a recorded presentation under Measure M. And we do have Michael Wolf or Tatiana for any questions from City Council. Councilman Tehran.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Ms. Arnaud. Thank you for the pre-recorded presentation. Just for the benefit of the public, would you mind just sharing a little bit about this and kind of a little bit more detail I'm going to ask about is, can you share with the public what a lift station is and what its purpose is and why it's important to our infrastructure?
Yes, absolutely. So Tatiana Arnaud, city engineer. So Mayor Pro Tem, council members. Basically, what this item is about is we have 3 lift stations that are requiring improvements right now. 2 of which, so lift stations 1 and 2, are going to be repairing a lot of the concrete and mechanical and electrical equipment. And a lot of this is due to the fact that it's a very corrosive environment inside of these lift stations, and I'll explain why in a second. And then lift station 30, we're going to be doing a little bit less work, but it's basically installing a new flow meter and then changing up the piping a little bit as it interacts with another agency that utilizes these as well. So what a lift station is typically we have sewer, right? So when you flush your toilet or you turn on your tap water, you have this dirty water, right? That's coming out. We try to do that by gravity as much as we can, but at some point, especially in a city like Oxnard, that's very flat. We have to be able to literally force it uphill essentially.
Mhm.
So we use these things called lift stations that basically use pumps to then push this dirty water in an upper direction so that then we can take it back into a gravity system and into our wastewater plant. So that's basically the purpose of these.
Thank you. And I think people can infer the importance of the lift stations. And if we don't maintain them or they malfunction or something otherwise happens, what are the ramifications to our wastewater system if one of these is inoperable or goes offline?
Oh, well, we would have a backup of sewage potentially in our roads and whatnot. So that's definitely not something we want to have happen. And I do have to mention that these lift stations do have a short lifespan just because of the corrosive nature of all of the stuff that's going through them. So we have to make sure that we're maintaining these regularly.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So Tatiana, where is location or lift station 1, 2, and 30?
Okay, so lift station 1 is over off of 360 Cabazon Circle. We have lift station 2, which is by the Harbor Service Road, so on the western side of our city. And then we also have another one, lift station 30 on Harbor Boulevard.
Mostly.
So mostly on the west side.
Okay. Council members, any other questions on this item? Do we have any speakers on this item?
We do not have any speakers on this item, Mayor. Thank you.
Speakers, Councilman Perrella?
It's mentioned in the staff report, the Channel Islands Beach Community Service District. Is there any sharing of the cost, or is it simply normal routine maintenance for our system to receive their system?
Yeah, this is normal routine for our system. This is not a cost that's being shared with the Channel Islands Beach District.
Thank you. And I found it very interesting how close the bids were. That was, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if there's no other comments, I'll move the recommended action.
Okay, first by Mayor Pro Tem, second by Councilman Perrella. Roll call.
Councilmember Madrigal,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem McDonald,
Aye.
Councilmember Turan,
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Perrella,
Yes.
Mayor Zaragoza.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion,
Staff, thank you so much. Michael, any other comments?
motion passes 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to redeem myself from earlier. I have information about the website, if you don't mind, Mayor.
Go ahead.
That's oxnardwater.org. That's our main website for the water. And inside there, there'll be some conservation links. And then the phone number 805-385-3905.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Jeff, thank you again for, you got baptized today, so. So we are adjourned. Thank you.